Hey guys, I'm your host, Tara A. Devlin, and welcome to this week's episode of Kowabana, true Japanese scary stories from around the internet. My latest book, Kowabana Volume 12, is now out. Collecting even more of your favourite stories from the show, you can find creepy ghosts, abandoned buildings, haunted shrines, fascinating monsters, and much, much more. You can find that on Amazon right now and help support the show at the same time. Welcome to the first Kowabana episode for 2024. I hope you had a great new year, and I hope you'll join me for another year of terrifying stories straight out of Japan. First up this week, a young woman takes a job as a streamer in a live chat to make some extra money, but a customer she meets there starts to take things too far, and soon she might be fighting for her life. Find out why in Live Chat. This happened several years ago. I moved out of my family home in the countryside to an old apartment in Hachioji. There I attended a women's university and I worked part-time at a family restaurant. I wasn't a part of any clubs or circles at the university. The job paid close to 900 yen an hour, and my parents sent me 70,000 yen a month, 50,000 for rent and the rest for my living expenses. The money I got from my job, therefore, was my free spending money. Still, I didn't earn that much from my job, so if I spent it on things like shoes, bags, going out, etc., it would quickly be gone. I wanted to find a job where I could make a decent amount of money in the shortest amount of time possible, and when I was in front of Hachioji Station one day, a guy handed me a free tissue packet. In it was an ad for a cabaret club. I wasn't the most fashionable woman around, and I was too shy to work in a place like that. And I wasn't really comfortable with that sort of work, even if it was just part-time. But at the bottom of the ad, there was a QR code, a URL, and a message. Even if you're not good at talking, feel free to apply. I visited the site when I got home and discovered it was looking for people to do live chats. This is where a girl appears on camera and guests can talk to her while she streams. The content varies from girl to girl. Some show their faces and chat, others don't. Some wear revealing outfits, others don't. Some participate in adult conversations, some take their clothes off, and others don't do either. You had to be over 18 to join the site, so as long as you didn't show too much, then the rules stated that removing your clothes was okay. Almost all the customers were men. They bought points and they could use those points to view the streams. From that, a small percentage was then paid to the woman they chose. I signed up right away. My computer already had a webcam, so I could start that very same day. I didn't think that anyone would recognize me, but just in case, I wore a wig. As soon as I started streaming, customers arrived. Some of them asked me to do things like touch myself or take my clothes off, but I ignored them and simply chatted. Those who were after something dirty generally left quite quickly, but the others who just wanted to chat stuck around, and I enjoyed talking to them. Strangely, I found I was able to easily talk when it was just to a camera, and over time, I gathered more and more points. After a month, I'd accumulated the equivalent of 50,000 yen in points. After lectures, I went to my part-time job at the family restaurant, and after that, I went home to work on the live chat. I did this 3 times a week, and in just a few hours of chatting in my own home, I earned 50,000 yen in 1 month. It was a pretty nice job. And this was all because I had regular chatters. There were around 4 of them who would always enter the chat room when I logged in. They were more interested in chatting with me than anything else. We could simply kick back, relax, and chat. Because I was from the countryside, people often said I was a little slow or absent-minded, but apparently my regular chatters quite liked that. I think most of them were businessmen, They were people who could pay several thousands of yen just to chat for an hour or two. Sometimes it was text chat, other times it was audio. Sometimes it was open chat, visible to others, and sometimes it was private, not visible to others. After 2 months, I had gotten rather close to the regulars. At first, I didn't tell them any identifying information about myself, but over time, I slowly gave them real answers as well. I'm a university student and I'm this many years old. I work part-time at a family restaurant. I live in West Tokyo. Stuff like that. Now, I think it was about half a year after I started this job that I got my first real boyfriend. A friend introduced us, we hung out a few times, and then about a month after we first met, he confessed to me. When I first started this chatting job, I decided that I'd quit if I ever got a boyfriend, so I wrote on my profile that I'll be leaving at the end of this month. Several of my regulars popped in to say goodbye. Thanks for everything, it's been fun. I'm sad we won't be able to chat anymore. Their comments made me happy. Once the chat was over, I received a message, a simple mail function, that said, "Stay well, good luck with your study." Seeing that from people I'd gotten to know through chat honestly made me feel a little sad. I logged in again the next day, and almost at the exact same time, someone created a private chat. It was one of my regulars, S-san. He was someone who only ever chatted in private chats, and was very particular about it being just the two of us. Was he waiting to create the private chat the moment I logged in? I vaguely thought. "Are you leaving?" he said right away, without even saying hello. "Yeah, I've got lots of stuff on my plate," I said vaguely. "Like what?" he replied immediately. "Like school, work, you know." "Tell me more." "Well, I've gotten more shifts at work and I have to study hard these days." "But you can keep doing this at nights, can't you?" "I study at night, sorry." "What about weekends? You can't log in during the day?" "I have to go to driving school then." He was incredibly persistent, and even though I answered with lies, I couldn't help but think that he wouldn't give up. S-san was usually a lot calmer than this, so I was wondering what was wrong with him as well. "Driving school? Where? You're in Hachioji, right? This school?" Something like that. Yeah, haha." "And you're using your money from this to get your license?" "It's not like that." "Don't lie to me." Suddenly he got angry. I was so surprised I thought my heart was going to stop. "You're going to get your license with the money you took from me?" "Eh? Eh? How much money do you think I've used on you, huh?" The conversation stopped. Which is to say, I ended it. I used the kick button, which forces the conversation to end. Even though it was over, my heart was still pounding. About 5 minutes later, I got a message from S-san. "I'm sorry I got angry at you. I lost my cool. I was just so shaken when I learnt you were leaving. Please don't hate me. I apologize for saying such mean things. I'm sorry. Please let me talk to you again." "I was so surprised that I kicked you. I'm sorry. I'm leaving it at this for today. I'll be logging in once in a while until the end of the month, so if you see me, let's chat then," I replied, and then I logged out. I didn't log in the next day. 2 days passed and then I logged in after my part-time job. At almost the same time, once again, S-san entered the room. Of course, it was a private chat. "I'm really sorry about the other day," was the first thing he said. "It's fine. I wasn't very honest with you either," I said. I didn't really think much of it though. But are you really going to quit? Yes, that's not going to change. Good luck with school. Thank you. If you're in Hachioji, then you're going to this driving school? Well, or is it this one? Maybe this one. Who knows? This guy had looked up all the driving schools in Hachioji. I was a little taken aback, and I tried to avoid giving an actual answer. We've been chatting for close to half a year now, right? You told me before you were earning around 50,000 yen a month. 50,000 yen a month for 6 months means that you've earned around 300,000 yen, right? And, seeing as you're a woman, that means you must be going for an automatic license. If so, you'll be attending an automatic course that must cost around 300,000 yen, which means this school. Am I right? I was honestly taken aback. It was true that a while back I told him how much I was making a month, and I also lied and told him I was going to a driving school, but I never once thought he'd actually look it up. I'm not going to answer you either way, haha. Ah, am I right then? Bullseye? Who knows? I'm sorry, but I'm getting off for today now. You're leaving because I got it right, right? He was still talking when I left the room. I'd been friendly with him for so long, but now all I could think of S-san was that he was a stalker. I planned to withdraw from the website at the end of the month, but I decided to bring it forward. I checked my messages before logging out, and there was one from S-san. That school looks like it has good reviews. Maybe I should go as well, haha. Where's your school? Where are you from? When we talked in private chat, he was usually kind and had a lot to talk about. Because private chats cost more than open ones, meaning you had to have more money, I assumed he was well off and let my guard down more around him. It's in Hachioji. I'm from this prefecture. Of course, I never told him any actual names or addresses though. I knew there was no way he could, but I was worried he'd figured out who I was. I wanted to talk to my boyfriend about it, but I also didn't want him to find out that I'd done work with the live chat. Starting the next day, I stopped logging in to the chat. That night, I was afraid, but several days passed and then I forgot about it. I was so excited for my date with my boyfriend that it was no longer on my mind. But when I was doing my accounting at the end of the month, I remembered that I had to log in to cancel my membership with the live chat. I didn't want to, but I logged in so I could cancel. New messages, 100, popped up in the notification box. The maximum number of messages that could be stored was 100. The box had reached its limit, and they were all from S-san. When are you logging in next? It's already the end of the month, huh? Aren't you going to log in today? Are you going to driving school today? When you know your schedule, let me know. What's wrong? Are you seeing these? Are you running from me? Are you running? You're leaving at the end of the month, right? Are you running? You're running, aren't you? Are you running? Do you think you can run away from me? I won't let you run away. All 100 messages were like that. I was too scared to read all of them. I withdrew from the site immediately. That guy was dangerous. Running away? What was that all about? What did he mean by, I won't let you run away? What on earth did I do? I was panicking. My heart pounded. Every now and then I saw of murders on the news that were crimes of passion. Like a man who gave lots of money to a hostess or something and then fell for her for real. But the woman, of course, just sees it as doing her job and has no feelings for him, so miscommunications happen. Sure, S-san spent his money on me, but I never did anything to lead him on or make him think otherwise. But was I the only one who felt that way? Did he actually like me? I was so confused that I couldn't think straight. I knew it was meaningless, but still, I got up and closed the curtains and made sure the chain was on the door. After the end of the month, life continued like normal. I was relieved and thought he was just a strange man. But then one day, something unusual happened. A notice was posted on the board at school. Warning: harassment incident. On this day, at this time, a student from our school was harassed by a man in his 40s or 50s while on the way home from driving school. Students need to remain vigilant and carry a safety buzzer with you at all times. In case of an emergency, call for help or seek help from nearby residents. I attended a women's college, so we were rather vigilant about crimes. All students received a buzzer when they started, and if we ever received suspicious calls or noticed someone following us, we had to let the school know so they could post a notice about it. During the worst times, this happened maybe 5 times a week. Normally, I didn't pay especially close attention to these notices, but this time the words "driving school" really stood out to me. That fear I felt when S-san yelled at me in the live chat and sent me over 100 messages came flooding back. I rushed to the student affairs office to ask them about the notice. I asked them who the student was, but the person there was reluctant to give me their name. "I might know something about who that man was," I said, and then he gave in and contacted the student for me. She came over between lectures. She was from a different faculty to me, but her hair was semi-long and kind of looked like the wig I wore during the chats. "Are you from this women's college? Are there any girls from your school who come to this same driving school? Maybe it's not actually this school. She's around the same size as you and has the same hairstyle. I think she's this old and in this grade." She said she was followed by a man from the driving school all the way to the station as he pestered her with these questions. There was no doubt in my mind. It was S-san. He was clearly looking for me. I think he saw the name of our university on my bag, and that was why he approached me. He said he didn't know her name, but he was looking for a girl who came here and worked at a family restaurant. He said he'd know who as long as he saw her face. I had told S-san my real age, that I attended a women's college in Hachioji, and that I worked part-time at a family restaurant. There weren't that many women's colleges in the Hachioji area, and then if you took my age and job and asked around at random, eventually he would find me. I told the other girl that it was probably me he was looking for. I didn't want to mention the live chat, so I said that he was someone I knew on social media. And if she ever saw him again, I asked her to please just run away. I skipped lectures that day and took a taxi home. I dropped my stuff off, made sure all the doors were locked, and then went to stay at my boyfriend's place. He picked me up on his bike, which was rather reassuring. Once we got back to his place, I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, and he knew of the existence of the live chat, so he didn't get any wrong ideas. He asked me not to do it again, and, of course, I nodded. I went to school from his place, and then to my job. Because I finished late, he would then come and pick me up. Naturally, it made me feel safer having him by my side. About a week later, I had to return to my apartment for a bit. It was daytime and my boyfriend was with me, so I wasn't too afraid. I wondered if maybe something unusual had happened in the meantime, but there weren't any changes. I collected my mail and then we went back to my boyfriend's place again. I spent another week there. I went to school and work, and nothing strange happened. By this point, I figured S-san must have given up looking for me, so I let my guard down. Another week later, I returned to my apartment again during the day to pick up the mail. This time I went alone, taking the train and then walking from the station. There were several letters in the mailbox, mostly from the hairdresser and such. But there was one that came in a plain brown envelope with no address on it. Sometimes the manager left envelopes with no addresses in the mailbox, so I thought that must be the case here too. I grabbed everything and then went up the stairs to my apartment. I froze as I was about to open the door. Something was rustling inside. It wasn't a small sound, like an insect, but louder, like someone was rummaging for something. Only my parents and my boyfriend had a duplicate key. My parents had said nothing about coming over, and my boyfriend was at work. Backing away quietly so I didn't make a sound, I went back down the stairs and then ran as fast as I could. I sprinted all the way to the police box in front of the train station and told them everything. There were 2 officers there, and one of them called for help on the radio. They told me to wait there, and about an hour later, a patrol car came to pick me up and take me back to my apartment. Several officers stood out the front, and when I got out of the car, they told me what happened. It was a burglar. He got in by breaking the window on the veranda. By the time backup arrived, he had already fled, and the apartment was empty. They wanted me to look around to see what had been stolen. I had left my wallet and bank books and such at my boyfriend's place, so there shouldn't have been any money in my apartment. But my computer was gone. The chest of drawers had also been ransacked, but the only thing taken was the floral dress I wore when chatting. There was no doubt in my mind. It was S. "If you'd come any earlier, then it's likely you would have run into the thief," the police officer said. "He tracked down my house. He broke in. He stole my computer full of personal information. He took my clothes." I fell to the ground in shock, and the officer took me to the car to sit down. I explained everything at the police station. I started with all the trouble that started online, and then the student from my school who was accosted. My head was a mess, but I did my best to tell them everything. At first, the officer looked confused, but when he saw how horrified I looked, he believed me. They contacted my parents, and I decided to return to their house for a while. It would be a problem if he managed to track me down at my boyfriend's place as well, so I packed up my things and then quickly returned home. Once I got back, my family were especially kind to me. They were somewhat old-fashioned and didn't even know about social media, let alone live chats, so all I told them was that I had been burgled. As I was sorting through my stuff, I found that brown envelope in my bag, the one I'd picked up the day S broke into my apartment. I'd entirely forgotten about it. I looked inside, and there was a single piece of A4 paper with a letter printed on it. To Nani Nani-chan. I'm in love with you, so I've come to see you. It seems you haven't been here for a while, so I let myself in. Let's hang out again sometime. I hope to see you soon. From S. P.S. I'm going to borrow your computer for a bit, but don't worry, I'll give it back. I moved out of my apartment after that and quit my job. I also took a half-year leave of absence from school. I went back later, but I had to repeat the year. The police stepped up patrols around the apartment as well, but S still hasn't been caught. Since that incident, I've been too scared to live alone. I can't even stay at home by myself anymore. I'm just really afraid of being home alone. These days, I'm even afraid of hearing men's voices over the phone or on the internet. I'm still with my boyfriend, however, and I was able to successfully graduate and find a new job as well, so I'm grateful for that. Sorry this was so long, but it was the scariest experience I've ever had. Next up, 3 friends chat about a local legend that may not just be a legend. What if the curse was actually real, and now it's back for more? Find out what happens in The Curse. I've finally sorted my thoughts out, so let me write this down. This story's going to be a little lengthy. I have 2 very good friends. We've been friends since elementary school, and even now that we've grown up, we still often go out drinking together. Around this time last year, the 3 of us got together for drinks. I'll call these 2 friends A and B going forward. Do you guys believe in curses? A suddenly said as we were drinking. He was the only one of us going to a national university in our hometown, and he was part of the science faculty, so he wasn't the type to believe in occult type stuff. B liked that sort of thing, but A had never brought it up before, so both of us were a little confused. Remember when we were in elementary school and we played near the community centre by my house, and there was an old guy who sat on the rocks there? He continued. Well, first of all, that old guy passed away not too long ago. We often played near A's house as kids, and I remembered a kind-looking old man who often watched us playing there. We stopped playing there after we started junior high, and I never saw him again. He died because of a curse. B and I were shocked. Like, no matter how much B was into that type of stuff, hearing someone say out loud that a person died because of a curse left him saying simply, "Huh?" But A continued. You know that lots of greenhouses and old buildings and such were destroyed in the heavy snow this year, right? Well, the shrine by the community centre was destroyed too. But underneath it, they found a well with a heavy grudge in it, and something that was getting stronger because of that curse. B stared at him with a shocked expression on his face as he spoke. B loved these sorts of stories, but he didn't actually believe in the supernatural. He just liked watching movies, researching folklore, telling stories, that sort of thing. Although he did once say, with full honesty, that he'd love to see something concrete like that. It was a fearsome curse that killed numerous people in our village several decades ago. And now it's cursing people once again, starting with that old man. I was, to be honest, quite shocked. It wasn't the type of thing a student would talk about seriously, let alone a man in his 30s. But B's interest was piqued, so he kept going. Are you talking about that Kodoku story that's been spread around town? If so, I've heard that one too. Kodoku? A replied back. He didn't seem to have heard that one before. B continued. No? Well, the story I heard was that around 100 years ago, there was a guy who lived near here who died. He was violent towards his wife, and so there were rumours that she poisoned him, but because there was no evidence, they couldn't arrest her. Still, their neighbours hated her, so they wouldn't let their children play together, and everyone then avoided the woman and her children. Left all alone, she apparently joined a religion. This was a long time ago, so I don't think it was like the new religions we have today. Anyway, before long, numerous children in the area died. I think there were 4 in total. Medicine wasn't very advanced at the time, so people thought it was a curse brought on by that woman everyone avoided. The villagers visited her and told her that unless she broke the curse, they would kill her and her 2 children. Apparently, she then gave a creepy laugh and told them how to break the curse, and that method was kodoku. B then told us what that method was exactly. 3 children were to be put in a well for a month. With nothing to eat, they would have to eat each other, and the final surviving child would be able to break the curse. But it's not like any parents would agree to something like that. Instead, the angry villagers put the woman and her 2 children in the well, and then put the cover on. They were thinking that if the person who cast the curse was gone, then the curse would end. The woman herself was then turned into one of the kodoku subjects. But a month passed, and they could still hear sounds coming from inside the well. It wasn't until 1 year later that the sounds stopped, and they finally removed the cover. Inside, they found the body of the woman and 1 child. For some reason, they were unable to find the other one. The inside of the well looked ghastly, covered in blood and scratch marks. Normally, the water in the well would have gotten rid of the blood, but it was still there and sticky. After confirming they were dead, they put the cover back on, but then another child died. The villagers feared that the curse was still not yet over. And so, under these circumstances, they sought help from a virtuous monk. After taking stock of the situation, he said that the first 4 deaths were not because of a curse. The mother, who had been ostracized, making her children suffer as well, only said that to fool the villagers. But then, they carried out the kodoku ritual for real. The curse created by the kodoku ritual when using mere insects is horrifying, but when you use actual people, and worse, a mother and her children, well, the malice that is born from that is beyond words. Meaning, it's not something that can easily be extinguished. The only way to prevent the curse from escaping was to place 1 statue of Buddha inside the well, and another on the cover, and then wait however long it took for the anger inside to fade. The monk carved the 2 statues to suppress the curse, but when he removed the cover to place one inside, he was shocked. It was the necklace around the woman's neck that contained the intense malice everyone felt in the well, and it had become the holder of the curse. It held the malice of the woman who had killed both her own children and herself. In order to create the curse, the woman and one of her children consumed the other, then crushed the bones with a stone and wrapped them in blood-soaked clothes. With this done, it would be difficult to suppress the curse. And, using her necklace as the tool through which to cast the curse, she condemned all the villagers to death. The only thing they could do was flee. Villagers who believed in the curse moved away, but those who didn't remained. And apparently, those who stayed behind all quickly died of illness. For a time, there wasn't a single person left in the village. Years passed, and people returned to the village, but the curse wasn't yet entirely gone. I heard that even now, they still have those 2 Buddha statues to make sure the curse doesn't escape again. That was the story B told us. A was like, "That's not the story I heard." To which B just replied, "Well, you sure do know a lot then, huh?" I like horror stories, so I listened for fun, but A and B both seemed quite serious. Look, I like scary stories like this, but I don't believe in the supernatural. Even so, I heard this from a monk at Nani Nani Temple, so I don't think he was lying. Even if the curse is just a legend, the incident that led to the legend being born was no doubt true, B said. That old guy, he died because of that black bag, A said. Then, after a short pause, continued. What would you do if you had the power to curse someone to death? Huh? B and I both said at the same time. I wouldn't do anything. I don't even want that power, but if I had it, I'd get rid of it. That's what happens when you can't imagine things realistically, A said. It wasn't a fun conversation to be having, so I forced a topic change, and then we all went our separate ways. As I was on my way home, B called me. He said we should go out for a few more drinks, just the two of us. It was still kind of early, so I agreed. What do you think is up with A? He asked. He's obviously acting weird and sensitive about something, I said. You remember what he said before? He then asked. He was talking about the old man's death. I mentioned something wrapped in clothes, but I didn't say anything about a black bag like he did. I think he got his hands on something that he himself thinks is a curse. He said, first of all, when he said the old man died, so I checked to see if anyone else from the area passed away, but I couldn't find anyone, so that's a relief. Hearing the way he spoke, I was starting to wonder if B really did believe in curses, so I asked him, Do you actually believe in curses? No, I don't. But I think if someone holds a strong grudge, that can influence others, he said. And while I don't believe in curses, I'm sure that if a legend is passed down and someone comes across a cursed item from said legend, then it no doubt has the power to drive them mad. I was watching A as we drank today, and he was clearly not normal. If there's something going on, we need to stop it. That story I told you about the Kodoku curse, if that mother ate her own children, then she would become a yaksha, a malevolent demon. Demons who eat people become yaksha. That also fits with other stories I've heard about making cursed items. Curses don't exist, but seeing as he knows how it was made now, it's not odd that he might lose his mind a little. We have to support A the best we can. The next day, B died in an accident. We'd been friends for such a long time that it was honestly a shock. I saw A at his funeral, and we went out for dinner afterwards, but he kept saying stuff like, he thought ill of me, that's why this happened. He kept staring at me when we were drinking, right? He was talking like B's death was perfectly natural under these circumstances. I looked at him like, what on earth are you talking about? And then he grinned and pulled something out of his pocket. It was a black bag with a string around it, like a necklace. Chills ran down my spine. It was weird, like the atmosphere coming from both A and the bag was exactly the same, like we'd been transported to some entirely different space. I was starting to think that maybe it really was a curse. You don't really think that you're the reason B died, do you? I asked him. No way. Curses aren't real, he said. But he was grinning. But maybe people who have ill intentions towards me might keep ending up like that. I sensed a horrifying shadow as he said that. I kept talking to him so as not to upset him, and then went home. A while later, A called me. "It's coming. It's coming," he muttered on the phone, but I couldn't quite make out what he was saying. I went to his house and he led me inside. I'd been there numerous times before, but the atmosphere this time was different. There were charms hanging all over the walls and something written in red all over the place. "I really shouldn't have used it," A said, trembling. I understood immediately what he was talking about. I asked him where it was, but he didn't answer. "What? Do you want to curse me too?" he screamed. I tried to calm him down, but he kept lashing out, so I left him there and went home. I was unable to get in contact with A after that. I went to his house, but nobody answered the door. A short while later, I heard he died. They said it was a heart attack. The funeral was going to be a family affair only, and I was unable to attend. I lost 2 friends in such a short span of time. 2 close friends. I don't want to blame their deaths on a curse, but since A died, there have been 3 other deaths near his house. It's a small neighborhood where there's usually maybe only 1 death every few years. I wonder if that black bag is still in his house. Finally this week, a family experienced something strange when their father, who's on a business trip, suddenly shows up at home. But is it really him? And if not, then who is it? Find out in Father at the Door. This happened a few years ago. One day, my father said he was going to be home late because of a business trip, so it was just my mother, my younger sister, and I at home. I was on the 2nd floor in my room when I heard the front door open around 8 p.m. I thought it was too early for our father to be home, so our mother must have gone outside for something. But after waiting and waiting, there was no sign that the front door opened again, so I went downstairs to see if that sound had actually been our father coming back. "Hey, do you know where your father went?" my mother asked me when I got there. According to her, around 8 o'clock she heard a noise at the front door, so she looked from the living room and saw Dad standing there. She mentioned it to my sister and they both looked over and welcomed him back with a wave. Apparently, he waved back. But despite waiting, he never entered the house, and apparently his slippers were still by the front door. They found it strange and was wondering if maybe he went back out somewhere. 2 hours later, Dad came home. When we asked him where he went, he said he'd just gotten back from his trip. At 8 o'clock, he was still on the train. These days we laugh about it, joking that maybe it was his living spirit or a doppelganger or something. But honestly, it was rather frightening. A massive thank you and shout out to this week's Kami tier members, Christina, Just Sawn, and S-. It's thanks to your support, along with everyone else, that I'm able to keep doing this show, so thank you very much. Don't forget to check out Kowabana Volume 12, out on Amazon right now, and check out our newly revamped merchandise store at kowabana.store. And if you'd like to chat about this week's stories, come and join us in the Kowabana Discord. You can find that link in the description or on kowabana.net. You can also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Tara A. Devlin for exclusive bonus stories and extras, or our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Kowabana Japan for all sorts of Japanese horror you won't find anywhere else. Thanks guys, stay safe, and I'll see you again next time for even more Kowabana, true Japanese scary stories from around the internet. Want even more scary stories? Head over to kowabana.net for new translations every week. You can also join our Patreon for exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else. Head over to kowabana.net now.